Welcome to Lesson 3 of the weekly low-pressure fall watercolor-themed collections challenge. If you don't know me yet, hi, I'm Christy from octopusconnection.com, and I've been a creative teacher online since 2016. I offer courses, a watercolor membership, and I have over 20 classes on Skillshare.com. I've been taking you on this crazy journey while I create a simple Halloween mini collection, because creating fun, purposeful watercolor art doesn't have to be complicated. If you're just jumping into this lesson and you want to catch all the previous lessons, just click on the screen to watch them now. I hope you follow along and create your own collection, even if it's a different theme, and share it in our community, because I love to see your work. But you're also welcome to just watch and see where it all goes. Last week, I showed you my painting process, complete with loads of tips along the way, including how to shift from one color to another, fix mistakes, and go with the flow even if you're not 100% happy with the work at the time. This week in Lesson 3, I'm digitizing my work and adding some lettering, which sounds a little complicated, but I'm going to keep it very simple and step-by-step. The thing is, I don't consider myself good at lettering at all. Thankfully, you don't have to be good at lettering to make good lettering. Okay, that sounds a bit crazy, but unique, organic, and even quirky lettering is really in demand right now, and I've seen it on lots of posters, home decor, branding, book covers, and a lot of other places. That means lettering that's unusual and more illustrated, and it could even seem ugly to you, but it will be beautiful to someone else. So even if you're not a calligrapher or you don't have a steady hand, stay with me. This week I'm going to be using my iPad. I know this is a watercolor challenge, but I'm going to be infusing some digital tools along the way which allow me to enhance my art and make some interesting edits, quickly add lettering, save my artwork as files that I can use to upload into my new POD shop that I'll be opening during this challenge. Doing this will allow me to have fun and unique items with my art on it that someone else can print to save me time and open up my options. Now, I could absolutely do any of this by hand, and I often paint greeting cards and make my own wrapping paper. I occasionally paint some t-shirts and lots of other things. But I would have to source many different materials and even special paints for some of these surfaces. The way I'm doing it now might be a little less hands-on, but it's much more simple and accessible. Plus, I get to share what I create with others who may want to have it too. But if you love the handmade aspect as much as I do, hang in there because I'll be doing more of this later on in the challenge. As I mentioned in the intro video to this challenge, POD stands for Print on Demand. These are online shops that will print custom art on t-shirts, notebooks, home decor items, and tons of other things like phone cases. I could go on forever. You can upload images of your artwork into POD shops with no prep, but oftentimes it can tend to make it look dark and dingy and blurry. Plus, we might miss some blemishes we wish we'd cleaned up beforehand. So preparing your art for printing is really important so it can look the best it can be. I've started by opening Procreate on my iPad Air. I specifically mention the iPad Air because many think that you can only use the Apple Pencil with the iPad Pro, but it's actually not the case. If you're interested in getting an iPad with an Apple Pencil, you just want to check your options before investing. I'm going to hit the plus sign at the top right to open a new document. Then I'm going to tap the plus box at the top right to create a custom-sized document. The larger the document size, the clearer my artwork will be when it's printed on items, so I'm going to create a pretty large sized file. I'm selecting the inches option so I can get a better feel for what size it will actually be in the end. On the side, it will actually tell you how many layers you'll end up with for each size. And you want to change the DPI, or dots per inch, to 300. This is the minimum you want for a high resolution result. 11 by 17 is about the size of a small poster, and that sounds about right to me for this. That way, when it goes on anything smaller, I'll be sure that my images will be clear and sharp. Now, I'm going to import my images by going to the wrench icon and clicking at the top leftmost menu option under Actions. Then I'm going to select the second option, which is Insert a Photo. From here, I'll bring in my artwork individually and then click the Direct Selection tool, which means I don't have to resize the image. I want it as big as possible. Each image will get loaded as a separate layer. I can click the layers icon here at the top right to see each of them. I'm going to duplicate this ghost layer by swiping the layer to the left and clicking Duplicate, just to be sure I have a copy in case I mess up. Now the object is to remove the background, which looks kind of dark and grainy right now, but I love how the watercolor paper texture shows through the painting on the ghosts. That's the effect I'm going for. Making sure I'm actually on the ghost layer, I'm going to click this S icon or the selection tool at the top. Then I want to be sure I have a free hand selected at the bottom. Using my Apple pencil, I'm going to trace around this ghost as carefully as I can so I can eliminate the background. I might have to do and redo some of these lines to be sure it's outlined just the way I want, but that's okay. For example, I want to make sure I get some of these dark watercolor outlines from how the paint dried, but I don't want to necessarily get my pencil lines in the final image. If I tap my Apple pencil at the next point, the selection line will just follow along, which makes it a lot faster, especially around the curves. And if I need to undo anything, I can just tap the screen with 2 fingers and do it again. Now I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to sit through my entire process, but you'll see as I sort of refine the shape into a more final, crisper version. Now that I'm done, I'm going to swipe down on the screen with 3 fingers to bring up the copy and paste menu. I'm going to select cut and paste to take my final ghost shape to its own separate layer. Now I can really examine it and do any final adjustments I want to without disturbing anything else, and I can see it much more clearly this way. I'm going to select a brush from my eraser tool, and I'm going to go around the edges one more time to be sure I didn't leave any unwanted areas. Then I'll do it again for the other 2 ghosts. You can see I accidentally erased part of the middle of the ghost in my original layer. Good thing I saved an extra layer so I have a backup. In the meantime, I'm going to do the same exact thing with the ghost on the right. Since I don't need the center ghost, I'm just going to enlarge the size of my eraser brush and just get it out of my way so it's not distracting. After I'm done, I'll just compress all 3 of these layers by pinching them together into one. Then I'm going to add some cute little ghost faces using my original sketch as a guide and using the Studio pen brush and a black with a touch of blue in it. Tip: refraining from using solid white or solid black will add much more dimension to your designs, even if it's a slightly different version of those colors. Next, I'll do the other images following the same steps. And with my illustrations now in Procreate, I can easily rearrange them and add more of them if I need to. All I have to do is click the S symbol at the top for the selection tool and circle each illustration that I want to move around. From there, I click the direct selection tool, which looks like the arrow, and I can move it anywhere I want to. I can even rotate it and change the size or distort it depending on what settings I choose at the bottom. So I can take one of my candy corns and make it look like a completely different one. And that's what's so cool about working digitally. It can save you loads of time and make for a much cleaner looking finished product. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time rearranging to be sure I'm happy with the placement. Now that I have the images finished, I'd like to add a little lettering. I want it to feel super organic, even though I'm working digitally. First, I'm going to open a new layer just for the lettering and select the black-blue color I used for the ghost faces, so it's very consistent. Then I'll go to the sketching brushes and select one that looks like pencil lead. This is a brush that came with Procreate and it's called 6B Pencil, in case you want to use it yourself. It has a little more thickness than some of the others and a nice texture that will look natural. Honestly, my lettering is super awkward, and I've always wished I could be a better calligrapher, but the truth is that it's just not something I want to spend hours practicing, so I'm definitely no expert in this matter. The good news is that super quirky and natural lettering is a trend right now, and if you've ever seen Lilla Rogers or Morgan Harper Nichols art, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to dive in and keep it real. Writing on an iPad is way different than paper, and I haven't really used Procreate for a while, so I'm just going to do my best, challenging the motto, fun over perfection. I'm going to click the wrench icon at the top left and click Canvas. Then I'll click the drawing guide, then Edit Drawing Guide. I'm so sorry it's cut off here in the video, but it's a size slider at the bottom that will allow you to enlarge or reduce the size of your grid. I'm going to enlarge it for my purposes and get started. This looks like a third grader's writing, but I'm going to go with it. Halloween is primarily celebrated by kids, and so I think it kind of goes with the theme, even though I didn't plan it that way. I'm going to create lettering for all of my images. For the bats and the ghosts, I think I'll use an orange color just to bring in more of the color palette. This will create a more balanced look across the collection. I'm trying to keep some of this wording as original as I can, so I might change it up here and there if the phrases seem a bit overused. I know "Hey Pumpkin" is pretty widespread, but I didn't have a better idea for this one. So if you do, let me know in the comments. I'm using a fun method I learned from a fellow Skillshare teacher, Claire Makes Things, to create these fun puns that are great on greeting cards, t-shirts, posters, etc. Her award-winning Skillshare class, Drawing with Puns, is linked for you below in case you want to check it out too, because it's pretty awesome stuff. Next week, I'll show you how to put all of this together, create the correct files, and upload it to my new shop. I've never worked with this POD shop company before, so it will be an adventure, and I cannot wait to see how it all turns out. And you'll be on the front lines watching it all happen. I want to take a moment to thank a few of you who have shared your art in the Facebook Challenge community this week. If you haven't joined us there yet, it's a kind and helpful group of like-minded creatives from all over the world and a safe, non-judgmental space to share your work in. We'd love to welcome you in, so I've included the link to join in the description. On the topic of Procreate, Jutta in Germany is following along in this challenge on her iPad and painted these adorable Halloween-themed illustrations. And she's also created this clever texture brush from an image of my cold-pressed watercolor paper. How cool is that? Emily created a themed watercolor illustration page with her very own touches, like the cute little feet under the ghosts and the candy corn added to her composition. Alessandra, who's in southern Italy right now, hasn't seen the signs of fall yet, but she's getting warmed up with some beautiful textured yellow-colored leaves. And you want to join us in the Fall Watercolor-Themed Collections Challenge, you can click the link in the description, and there will be more videos like this, plus PDFs, a challenge community where you can share your work, get feedback, and a challenge hub to keep track of it all. And again, if you missed the introduction video to this challenge, you can click on the screen to watch that as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, tap the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos, and thanks so much for being here. Can't wait to see you next week in Lesson 4 of the Fall Watercolor Themed Collections Challenge.